hopping a hand for
Be careful.
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement. It's time to go behind the funny. My name is Ace Aceto, and you can see my partner Scott Higgins is not here. He is on a date with his wife. It's his anniversary. So I have a fill-in. He is texting me as we speak, so we're probably going to edit this out, but we all know Scott doesn't edit, so I have to just text him to let him know how to get in because he's saying the door is locked. So give me 1 second. It's a shit show, guys. Yeah, this is what happens when you only have one person. So I'm going to kill some time and just say our bourbon date this week is... Our bourbon date is Angel's Envy again. We're just about done with this bottle, and by the end of the night, I'm sure it will be done. So welcome. As Derek Fonseca, who's going to be our fill-in co-host tonight, as he lets himself into the house, hopefully, as he's trying to get in, I will just let you know. So tonight's guest, I'm really, really excited about this guest. This is a guy I worked with a couple of years ago at City Winery in Boston. Jim McHugh from the Boston Comedy Festival, former guest and friend of the show, had us on a show. It was myself, our guest, and the infamous Tony V. And we had a blast. It was fun. It was in the beginning when they were first starting to book comedy at City Winery. And it was a smaller crowd, but they were a really good crowd from what I remember. But I really enjoyed this guy's act, and we struck up a conversation. And I was just so interested in what he was saying, from where he was from, where he was born, then where he started doing stand-up and where it's brought him. But I'll be honest, after looking at his website and looking at all the things that he has done in his life, I think we have quite honestly found the most interesting man in the world. If they bring back those commercials, we need this guy on the commercials. So I am very, very excited to welcome to Behind the Funny, Mr. Dustin Chafin.
Yeah,
welcome, buddy. How you doing, bud?
Interesting comic in the world. I'll take it.
Dude, I mean, I was reading your bio, and I couldn't believe how many different things you've done and the path that you've gone through just to get to comedy.
Yeah, you just don't know. You're out there and you're young and you're living life, and you think you meet a girl in high school and she's a Mormon. You're like, hey, my parents are alcoholics. Let's piss them off.
Yeah, right.
I'll become a Mormon and I'll be a missionary and I'll go to South America and then I'll come back and I'll go to art school and then I'll be a busboy at a comedy club, and then next thing you know, I'm on this show. You just don't know. It happens.
Now you can retire. Now you can retire, man.
It's so funny. You said, you'd reached out, and I appreciate it. And you were like, yeah, I met you at the City Winery, and there's a City Winery in New York. And so I played that one, and I was trying to place your face. I was like, what? I go, because I did that show with TJ Miller and this other comic, and I was like, I don't think I work with this guy. And then you said the Boston one, festival. And I remember the crowd kind of being weird and sensitive, and then I kind of turned it, whatever. But yeah. That was a fun little crazy show,
Yeah, they weren't, it was when Jim McHugh first started booking that room.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I don't remember if it was wintertime or not. I just remember it was a smaller crowd, and it was at the beginning of him booking it. I've seen some pictures of them more recently, some of the crowds, because I think he does it once a month. and they've been fantastic. So I'd like to get back there. But yeah, it was you and I and Tony V that night. Yeah, we had a blast. That's what it was. So how you been now? So I want to back up and talk a little bit about your life because you were born in Texas.
Texas, yes, born and raised. Yeah.
Born and raised. Now, when did you move away from Texas? Because you didn't start doing comedy in Texas, did you?
No. I, well, yeah, I kind of rushed through it a little bit, but yeah, I was born and raised in Texas, and then I had kind of a Mormon journey of about 6 years.
Okay.
And during that time, I was a missionary, and so then I left Texas and went to Chile, Santiago, and I was a missionary in Chile for 2 years. And that's that was part of that whole experience. And then I came back. I lived in Idaho. I went to BYU Idaho, which is like the second BYU in Idaho, and did that. And then I wanted to go to art school. So I ended up going to Parsons in New York City, and that's kind of how I ended up in New York. And
that's how you ended up in New York. Okay.
Found comedy and busboy and all that stuff kind of happened later. A girlfriend of mine was working at a hotel with a comic named Pete Corielli. And she was, they both worked the front desk. And I had done comedy once. I did it in Idaho at the Mormon school. And I did a talent show. And I did stand-up comedy talent show because I've always liked comedy. Like, as a kid, my mom, she had like Cheech and Chong records, and and I was a big Sam Kinison fan and all that stuff. And so I'd always kind of thought it was amazing, and I liked to, whatever. I kind of fantasized about it a little bit in the shower. I'd try to do comedy acts and stuff. But I did this talent show, and I crushed. I mean, I got a standing ovation. First time I ever grabbed the microphone. And so it was like, I've been chasing that show ever since.
Nothing's ever measured up since.
Yeah. I was like, I never had that feeling. So that was the first time I did it. And then when I got to New York and this girl started working with Pete, and she would always talk to me like how he was doing comedy, and he was a busboy at this comedy club. And, and I eventually met him, and then he got me kind of into the open mics. I told him I did it once and I loved it and whatever. And we talked. And then next thing you know, he went out of town or something, and I took his shift as the busboy at the New York Comedy Club. And when you were a busboy at the New York Comedy Club during that time, which was late 90s, you would also cook. So you were like the cook and the busboy. And so if you cooked hamburgers, you got like 45 cents. And if you cooked French fries, you got like 25 cents. So you made no money. It was horrible. But you also had to clean the bathrooms and the whole thing. The whole thing was like a disaster. But you ended up getting stage time either on a bringer show, or when you kind of got your footing a little bit as a comic, you could do spots on the Late Show. And they were all check spots. But you could get up and you could do that thing. So it kind of started there. I would work at the club, make a couple bucks, but the most important thing was, I got to get up on stage and then meet all these guys. I remember being there, and like Mark Maron is like a new comic, and like he just got back from Australia saying that he bombed, and we're smoking a joint in the back. And then you got like Todd Barry, like, who's this weirdo? And then he goes up and destroys. And then you had Dave Attell out there in the front smoking cigarettes. And you're like, Dave, do you have any advice for comics? He goes, yeah, acting school. And you're like, what? You're not an actor. And then it was just like this whirlwind of, comedy people. University that was happening. And it was like, you couldn't get a better comedy education than this particular, place. And so it was really amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So literally just going there. I mean, just being exposed to all those people in New York. And I've heard a lot of people that are in New York, that's how they start. They get their foot in the door, bartending or bussing or working the door. I mean, Maron, said that he worked the door, papering, flyering, doing flyers and stuff like that. We were, and by the way, this is Derek Fonseca. This is one of our.
There was some random dude just like hijacking the studio.
Yeah. No, he's an actual comic.
I'm a comic.
He's just sweating because my front door, the handle he was having issues. Then he was having issues with my garage door, which is why I was listening to you, but trying to.
It did end up working.
Yeah.
But after the 20th time, the garage door.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm late though because I hit a pothole that might as well have been a crater. I need a military Humvee.
Well,
I actually stopped to actually check underneath my car.
Did you?
I think I blew out a ball joint.
Did you really?
Dead serious.
It's insane.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like in the Northeast with potholes. And the sad part is we only had 2 storms in Rhode Island this year. So there's potholes all over the place from 2 snowstorms. And they weren't even that bad.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah, where's this money going from the tolls? You know what I mean? Like you pay all those
no.
tolls, and you're like, really? Is that supposed to fix the roads? You know what I mean? It's horrible.
I don't know why our state seems to have the worst potholes in the Northeast, though. Massachusetts, not bad. New Hampshire, they get way more snow than us. I don't know what the hell they do to their roads, but for some reason, our roads don't hold up.
Not at all.
But it was funny because you bring that up, and I don't know. I don't know who I was just talking to over the past. Oh, I was down in Florida last week. I went on vacation, but I did some shows out on the West Coast, middle of nowhere, like Homosassa. It's like north of Tampa. And I was talking to a friend of ours that lives down there now that booked me on the shows, and we were talking about shows about comedy, and somehow Crashing, Pete Holmes' Crashing came up, and we've talked about it on the show before about how realistic it is. If you get hooked in with the Christian comedy scene, what it's like, and if you get the comedy condo with the lawn furniture inside, and so it's funny because that I want to say in one of the episodes that's how he got on stage was papering flyers. You had to hand out flyers to get into a new room.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what we do to get stage time.
Yeah. I mean, I got to. I think one of the big thrills of my life. I got to play myself on Crashing. I did.
Did you?
I did a cameo.
I didn't realize that.
Episode 3, I got to play myself, and I did stand up. I did stand up on the thing where it was like he walks into the club and I'm on stage, and you see me kind of, and I got to do a few jokes, and they aired it and everything, so it was cool. But that was like one of the big thrills. Because we all want to play ourselves, like the cameo starring as himself,
Yeah, right.
Who doesn't want that? You know what I mean? As kids, it was always like the Love Boat or whatever,
Oh,
yeah. So it's like
Judy Landers as herself.
Yeah. So it's like, that's all the TV I need.
Yeah, right.
And that was really cool. It was really funny because it was like, I knew Pete back in the day, and he used to kind of bark for me a little bit. I ran the Boston Comedy Club on West 3rd the last couple of years, and I was always kind of a hustler. I always run shows and clubs and things, and whatever I could do to get stage time. And so it was really cool to be a part of that with him. But I remember we did my scene, and I'm supposed to just be doing stand-up. They're like, all right, just do your act. Just do like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No, not background. It's 15,
really?
No, do your act 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to cut from it. So it's like, no, it wasn't like I was in the back. I mean, I had a good 3 minutes on the show, but the thing was like, there was an audience there, and I was trying to kind of play with them and to make it feel real or whatever. But the thing is like they're extras, and so I would ask them questions, and if they talk back, then they got to pay them. So they're like, dude, you can't ask them questions because
you can't do crowd work.
It's like if they start to cost
your crowd work costs us money, dude.
Yeah, I was like, hey, so what are you doing? Are you married? Whatever. They can stop asking.
$20 a callback.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
So yeah, but if you see it, I'm on there. I do a couple of jokes.
That's
Cowboy
too
hat
cool.
jokes and stuff. So it was cool. Yeah, it was a good. I got my name at the credits, and it was nice. It was fun.
I must have watched it before I met you, obviously, because I would have been like, I know that dude.
Yeah. It's episode 3 with TJ Miller and stuff. It's the one where he flips
watch
out and stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yard sale, I think it's called. But,
so what fun have I missed?
No, other than me texting you on how to get the fuck in the house. Nothing. No,
just missed my life story.
Just
but
weird. Yeah, you missed his life story. Nothing big.
Yeah,
no.
Oh, all right,
no,
man.
Grew
Just
up,
everything.
I'll condense it. Grew up in Texas. Met a Mormon girl. Became a missionary. Went to Chile.
Oh wow!
Did missionary work in the Chilean mountains. And I called him the most interesting man in the world if they ever bring those commercials back.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And then wait a minute. Then went to Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho.
Right.
Comedy
based
there.
Based in LA currently.
Yes.
Went to New York and now
Nice.
is in L.A. So what made you make the move from from New York to L.A.?
Yeah,
Was it an
that's a
acting
great
job or?
No, it was, I think a lot of things are just happening. New York wasn't quite back.
Uh-huh.
And,
Oh, so it
I
was
think I
during
felt
the
like it was
pandemic?
a little post-pandemic, kind of towards the end. The clubs were opening up, but it felt
Yeah.
like,
Well,
it was still kind of one of those things where New York you still felt the grind of everything and just kind of like,
Yeah.
you just felt closed in.
yeah.
And my girl's a comic as well, Leah
Oh,
Bonema, and we just kind of like we wanted to change. I mean, I'm working on something that's television driven and stuff, and we felt like LA is a good place to
for
kind of do that
TV.
kind of stuff. But yeah, but we basically it was more a way of life than it was more about the industry. I mean, I feel like LA is kind of where you come to get discovered, and New York is where you go to get good.
Yeah.
Like you
Yep.
go there, you get your legs, and then you go out to LA and you just bedazzle everybody because your act is so good, and you're like, wow, this guy. So I
Right.
felt like we kind of wanted to do a little bit of that, but mostly it's a way of life. I live
Yeah.
next to a canyon. We go hiking every day. There's the
Yeah.
desert. There's the beaches. I got a dog. I got a car. In New York, it's like
Right.
you're on the R train. There's some dude
Yeah.
with no pants on.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's like you're in a 400 square foot apartment. So it's like
Yeah.
it
It's
was
a
nice
quality
to
of life.
kind of. So a little bit of that was a little half and half. The industry's here for sure,
Yeah.
but
I just didn't know, and again, because I never moved out of, I moved from Rhode Island to Massachusetts back to Rhode Island. I got, I punked out and did the day gig thing, and then the day gig became just way more lucrative than doing comedy. So I still do it. I work, just about every weekend, but I'm working in the day, so I never did it. But it seems like it's changed in LA from what I'm hearing from people, though, because it's not like 20, 30 years ago where you go to LA, yeah, you've got a great act, but they're looking at it, okay, how can we make this a sitcom? How can we make this into a TV show? Now it almost seems like they're looking for you to kind of have the ideas, too. I can't remember. We had someone on, and they were like, yeah, there's no one sitting there going, that act, I want to build a TV show around it. They're like, all right, what ideas do you have? What do you got? What ideas do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I started, Rick Adonna brings it up a lot. We kind of started after the boom, and so
Yeah.
it's like a lot of guys, came up during an amazing time in comedy where it was like they were handing out sitcoms at Just for Laughs, and they were
Yep.
always looking for comics and to create shows around and things like that. And then then there were some bad sitcoms and some things happened, and they kind of stopped looking for comics like they used to. And then now I think it's like, there's, you kind of have to kind of make your way. And I think if you have a meeting, you should have, 5 ideas and,
Right,
a couple
right.
of treatments. And yeah, it's like, it's not just about you, but you can make your own path and
Yeah.
create your own type of content. And that's the thing. Now I know guys that just did, web and, web series and that turned into like Showtime shows.
Something.
And things.
Yeah, right.
So it's like,
right.
that's what you do now. It's like you don't need a production company. You do it yourself. And then if it's popular online, then people see it and be like, hey, we'll make it on the show. That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, because it's funny you bring that up because there were other things too that happened. We've spoken to some people about, they went to LA, they were in the process of getting things done, and then all of a sudden the writer's strike happened.
Yeah.
And that killed sitcoms for a little while. And then we actually had last night we recorded and we had Roger Kabler. Are you familiar with him?
I don't think so.
He was big in like 89, 90, 91. Really, really amazing impressionist. But now he's doing, he just did a movie in 2019, self-produced movie called Being Robin. One of his impressions is he does a spot on to the point where he even looks like Robin Williams when he does it. And he channels him. I just looking at the trailer, it's almost like watching Jim Carrey become Andy Kaufman. Nice. He's channeling him. He's not doing an impression of him. But he had a sitcom back in, I don't know, early 90s. And it was, he said, I was like, how did that not take off? It was a great concept. He was a white DJ hired by a black radio station. And the woman running the radio station, her husband had just passed away. She was now in charge of the station. So she hires him just by hearing his voice. And then he comes in, and obviously he's the white guy in the room. And it was edgy. It was funny. The lines were fantastic.
Yeah.
I said, what happened? He goes, the Rodney King riots happened the night we were filming that pilot. He said, and once that happened, the writers and the executives were too afraid to do anything that was any kind of racially charged. And it died. They took the safe way out, and it just died, and that happened to a lot of people, I guess.
Well, it's interesting. My first television stand-up appearance was a show called Showtime's White Boys in the Hood.
Really?
White boys.
And that was a real show. I mean,
Really?
it was like Rich Voss and Jessica Kirsten and Lori Martin.
Oh, that's killer. That's a nice lineup.
Kurt Metzger. I mean, everybody. It was a lot of great comics.
Yeah.
But it was
that's
a lot
awesome.
of us. A lot of us came up in New York through like urban Latino rooms and stuff. And so,
Right.
we knew how to work those crowds.
Yeah.
And but you couldn't do that show now. I mean, they would cancel that on your way to the stage. They would cancel that show. But yeah, it was black. It was white comics doing black jokes in front of black crowds, and it was fun. Like we crushed it,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
Def Jam
everyone had a
comedy,
good time.
but with white people.
With white people,
It was very Eminem. It was like people were feeling it, and it was but it was a concept because so many of us had played black rooms and stuff, and so we knew how to work the crowd. But the idea was was a pretty funny one. It was a whole season, like it was
really.
So it was
it's not like it was only a couple of shows.
No,
right?
it was like it was a full season. It was like 13 episodes or something. But it was like
that's killer.
check it out. There's some great comics on there, and it's like we're all just kind of doing whatever.
So Dustin, where you're at now? What's your do you have a favorite room or spot or show series or something to hit in LA right now? Like, what do you think is like the thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite is I'm opening for Nate Bargatze, and we're doing like a arena tour. So that's kind of I mean, that's been the most amazing thing. We just did the PMG with a Penguins play, and I've never performed in front of that many people, 10,000 people. Yeah. And I did some new stuff up top, and I tell you, when something doesn't work and it's 10,000 people, boy, you really feel it.
Yeah. Actually, can I ask you a question about that? Because I remember seeing Sebastian Maniscalco like in like Boston, and like again it was like TD Garden. It's like as a comic for you, how like it must be interesting with the timing, right? Because you're hearing the front row, but then it's like you almost have to wait for that wave to hit through the back. Like,
it's like a theater on steroids.
Is that interesting?
Right?
With the timing?
Yeah, even Nate, like we were talking about it, you'd never really get used to it. I don't. If you get used to it, I mean, maybe somebody does at some point, some big comic, but for the most part, I think you just kind of, it's surreal. You're just not. You feel like you're outside of your body. You're just like, what is going on? I mean, you definitely have to kind of like pay attention a little bit to the rhythm of what's happening, and like you definitely slow down and whatnot.
Right.
And and you find yourself, it's like I've seen some guys do it and they try to do crowd work and stuff. It's just really funny. You're just like, really gonna do crowd work? Like 40 rows back, like in the balcony.
Yeah, dude's in the nosebleeds and he's making fun of a guy right in front of you.
Right.
But it's, you almost have to make fun of it that it's so big and it's so crazy. That's what I do. I'm just like, what is happening? Because I'll be like, I'm here with 10,000 people. Last week I was at a bar show where they wouldn't turn off the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
dude, I know that feeling.
We know that feeling very well.
Yeah, it's Boston. They ain't turning off the game.
No, not during.
Turn off the
Bruins,
dude.
Yeah, what are you, crazy? We're having the best season.
Yeah,
Sully, turn it up.
But yeah, I think it's it's fun. I'm having a good time. Just doing comedy, working the road, and just doing crazy stuff and doing my own stuff. And I have a show, Dustin's Vinyl. It's on Twitch as well. We talk about I'm a big avid record collector, so I go to every town I go to when I'm on the road. I always go to the record store and spend way too much money and all that stuff. And so things like that. I do a lot of different things just to keep the.
It's cool
creative
that
mind
vinyl
going.
came back, isn't it? Like how people just like you can go into a house and it's like owned by someone who's like 27 and they'll have like a whole vinyl collection.
Oh yeah,
of like old school and new stuff. It's pretty good.
I've got 3 teenagers and my son. I was going through some stuff in the storage room on the other side of the basement or the basement, and I found a bunch of my old vinyl records. I got like Journey double album. At a record store when I was not on the road. I was up in Portland, Maine. I went into a record store. I found an original I think it's In Through the Outdoor Led Zeppelin. It comes in a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
And I have it
sweet,
like with
dude.
the original bag and the plastic and stuff.
great.
So I was going through. I'm like, Mike, this is. He goes, can I have these? I go, yeah. Then I go, wait, hold on a minute. And I started going on eBay and looking up how much this shit was worth. I go, you ain't touching this shit. Leave it alone. When I die, I'll give it to you. How's that?
That's
if it's
so
still
funny,
around,
man.
if I haven't sold it yet. And he was like, no, I get it, Dad. I get it.
Like even like people even get my girlfriend's got like John Mulaney albums in vinyl.
Really?
Like which is like
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could get stand up in vinyl right now. That's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
guess.
Like
Yeah, I mean, I think people just get kind of burned out digitally,
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
everything is online. We're always checking our thing. It's all,
Yep.
and it's like just to have something tangible
That you
know?
can
Yeah.
hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I read magazine, Rolling Stone and stuff. And it's funny,
Yeah.
but I still have a tech brain, so I'll find myself trying to,
I've done
enlarge.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't.
let me enlarge this photo.
I can't read the print. Hold on. Oh, what the hell am I doing? It's a magazine, you shithead. I know.
But
I've
I've
done that.
I do miss the idea of holding things and the
Yeah.
artwork, and so I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
and then you get like a badass system, and so you can
Yeah.
like listen to your speakers and your tuners and all that. So it's like it becomes an experience if you're a audiophile, they call it. You
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Experience.
because back in the day when you got an album, you'd put the album on, but you would look at the liner notes. You would look. You didn't know who
Read the
friggin'
lyrics.
Yeah, you didn't know who a record producer was, but you were like,
Yeah.
oh, this was produced by so and so.
Yeah.
And it was
an
interesting.
experience. It's an
Yeah,
experience.
you
Yeah.
felt like you knew more about the band by doing that.
Yeah.
And you can hold it. It's physical.
Yeah.
You have it. Like everyone on their phone's got a playlist.
Yeah.
But I think the appeal of vinyl is like I got all my music. It's right here. We listen to it, and you're just listening to it. There's no
Yeah.
menus. There's
Yeah.
no. I don't have to worry about a text distracting
Nope.
me. You just have it.
It's
And
the sixth. It's the sixth track in, and I got to count the lines and pop the thing down, and
That's the favorite, and you're just like, okay, wrong
yeah,
one.
yeah, oops, yeah.
My brother got
and you-
a player not so long ago. My dad showed him how to put the penny on there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
when
like,
it skips.
my dad's like, yeah, put the penny on there. It'll
Yeah,
work.
I
Hilarious.
told my kids that they were like,
Yeah.
"What?"
I was like,
That's
oh
so
shit,
funny.
this is cool.
Yeah, and you have to get your lazy ass off the couch and turn it over. That's my
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know.
But yeah, I think it's fun. It's just I think we're all just creatures of habit and nostalgia and stuff, and so it's nice to remember stuff. And I
Yeah.
just remember my first experiences to music were that records.
Yeah.
So this is nice. This is a throwback. And record stores are so cool, man. It's
Yeah,
like the idea of just going into a record store. So that's where all the interesting people are. When I'm on the road in
Yep.
some bullshit city, it's like I know the record store is at least going to be cool people in there. But
right,
it's like,
right.
But I just enjoy it. And then like you said, you can find some good stuff worth a lot of money. I got stuff worth tons of cash,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would never sell it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, all right, guys, I want to borrow your record player because I haven't played this album in a long time.
Get a
you know?
system,
I wanna-
bro.
I know. I know.
$300-$400. You get a nice system. So,
I know. I should. It's funny. You were talking about like even CDs. You can't even find a car with a CD. I just bought a new car and it has a CD player. I was like, holy shit, this is so
Really?
cool.
That model has a CD player?
Yes,
That's
it
a new
does.
car. Like
Wow.
it's a very new car.
It's a 2019.
Yeah.
But
wow.
it's a BMW. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a feature that they wanted in it. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah. So when we were talking about like some of the fun things that you like, what are some high points in your career? Like obviously you've mentioned some of the people that you've worked with, and obviously doing arenas has got to be a high point. But has there been anyone that you've worked with where you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm working with this person. I've always wanted to do this. Like, or where you fanboy out or get a little starstruck when you're opening for someone or working with someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting because these people become your friends,
Yeah.
And so it starts in the beginning. It's like I work with TJ Miller, and in the
Mhm.
beginning, I was a huge fan. I was
Yeah.
just like, this guy's like, I think when Silicon Valley came out and stuff, I was like, oh my God, he's hilarious. And
Yeah.
like, I remember just kind of, I remember I'd reached out to him and be like, hey, I'm an opener. I don't know if you remember me, and he didn't get back to me at all.
Yeah.
And then we did an episode, we did Crashing, and then I
Yeah.
kind of became friends with him, and then I ran a club, and he would come down and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's just interesting when you like fan out a little bit, and then you're actually working with people, and that's pretty
Right.
cool. But I don't know. I think it's just sometimes you see people. I mean, You know, it's like I think the one person I flipped out on where I couldn't speak was John Leguizamo. It was like in a
Really?
comedy club. For some reason, I feel like I've just seen all his stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of his Broadway shows, and I just was like,
He's just so
I just
talented.
couldn't speak. Yeah, I just felt like he didn't feel like a comic. Like, you know, it's like he didn't feel like a regular comic. Like he feels like he's beyond this thing.
He's done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
he's did the sloth, you know, and
yeah, it was Clown and Spawn. Like he's just this other thing. And so I was a little nervous. Like I couldn't really like talk around him. I was like, this guy's just way too famous. Like I can't. Like I can handle Lewis Black or I can handle a comic.
Really?
Like because I feel like we have a common ground. We both played a funny bone at some point.
Right.
You know? It's like,
I think it's different too because it's probably different because of where you came up. Because you came up in New York City.
Yeah.
All of those people were so accessible. Like I fanboyed. I opened for Gaffigan once, and I opened for Lewis Black, same place down in Newport, and I fanboyed out. But that's because I wasn't in New York where I could see them drop in a club every third night or once a week. So it must be different when you're coming up in New York because everyone is so much more accessible.
Yeah, I've smoked with Chappelle. I've done lines with Marin. You know, so it's like these guys.
Yeah, right.
Love the honesty.
Yeah.
You know?
Honesty over here on the pod.
Yeah, but those guys would probably say the same thing.
Yeah,
hey, we were talking to Dustin Chafin.
Yeah, they might.
Oh, yeah, I did lines with him.
Well,
You know?
Marin's sober, so I can say that.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I am too. So, it's
Yeah.
But I feel like, but that's the thing. We're all partying. We're all hanging out. We're all together. So even these guys were kind of on the rise. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, it's like they just feel like that's what you want to achieve is their success. But at the same time, they're just comics,
They just have the opportunity to play different bigger rooms.
Yeah, they just want to get funnier,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So you said Chappelle. I was just thinking of Chris Rock too. What did you think of Chris Rock's? Because we've been asking a lot of comics that have been on more recently. What they think of the new special?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I felt like the fact that he went live, his balls out.
Absolutely,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
and then I also felt like it just you felt like his last special was interesting.
Yeah,
but with Carmichael producing and stuff, but it felt a little watered down, and I felt this was back to the Chris Rock that we kind of fell in love with.
Yeah,
and like he's stalking the stage, he's got his voice going, and he's doing the preacher, and he's really hitting stuff and going in hard, like he's not letting anything back. And then I loved it because it was like. I loved it that he messed up a joke. I felt like it was a real comedy experience. Like I felt like you were there,
I think because he did it live, I think it helped people see, like, this shit happens even to the best of people. Like he messed up that one line because it was live. You're not seeing it pre-produced and edited.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
I thought it was good. I actually wish he did the slap stuff earlier. I wish he
No, somebody said that to me the other day. I said,
yeah,
kidding
you
me?
think?
That's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, everyone was watching for that, right?
I think it's the fun of it's the elephant in the room, and he's already being funny, and you're like, he's gonna talk about it. You're expecting it.
It's
and
the build-up.
Yeah,
if he had done it early, everybody would tune out.
Yeah,
you gotta do the whole thing and then hit it at the end.
You're
you
like,
gotta close with it.
Finally, he's talking about it.
You gotta close with it, and he did it perfectly because he made little comments that he was getting to it.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'm gonna get another rapper mad at me, and like he would make references throughout the thing, and then he closed with it like a champ. So I think if he had said it early, people would have tuned out.
They would have tuned out. Yeah, no, I understand why he did it. I don't know. Maybe because I just wanted to hear it first.
You're just
selfishly. Yeah. What's the opposite of a callback? I guess it's a tease because that's what he did. It was almost like a reverse callback.
I thought he did a good job. I thought he handled it well, and it's like gave us what we wanted.
So how long are you on tour with Nate?
Hopefully forever. Yeah.
That's killer.
I mean, we have some dates coming up. I'll be in Jacksonville in May, and we just got off this tour it was Pittsburgh, West Virginia, and Ohio and stuff. So it's like, it just comes, and then I work with TJ a little bit. So we'll do some of that stuff in the fall. But it's I have some fall dates coming up. So it's throughout the year for sure. And but it's been amazing. It's like just so cool.
I have a question, just for a guy like you that's like been all over the country.
Yeah.
Do you have like, or if anything comes to mind, like an underrated place, that loves comedy in this country that like most people don't think of?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus,
Beautiful.
Ohio.
Really?
Beautiful comedy town. Yeah.
Awesome.
There is I believe, what is it? Is it a Funny Bone? I think it's a Funny Bone.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, isn't that the main Funny Bone?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun town. It's they have like a little German section where it has all the sausage and stuff and they have these old looking buildings and stuff. So it's like, little stuff like that. I always love when it's like some sort of like, quaint stuff, but and food is great. I need food. Food has to be good.
Yeah.
I love big food towns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kansas City with the barbecue. Like it's like, any
Get
place
a nice
that has
bite,
good
go
food.
to the show,
Yeah, it's like that becomes the day. You hit a record store, you hit the food, you hit the show, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, Columbus was good.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I feel like that was a good time. But we were just in where were we? West Virginia was a great comedy audience. Like they were so fun and so like. Some of them were drunk and crazy, but they were still good.
Yeah.
Was that an arena or was it because I know there's casinos out there too.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like arena. We did like 4 hockey arenas. We went from like the Pittsburgh Penguins arena to like some sort of like D League team
over the line in West
Phantoms
Virginia
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some Mighty Ducks thing. But yeah.
That's cool though. It's funny how the crowd really like the crowd really does play in a role in how great a show is.
Oh yeah.
Like you can have the best set of your life, but the crowd, like the right crowd, makes it even more special.
Yeah, and and people, that's the thing is like we get kind of snobby living in the East and living in the West, and Boston, New York, Los Angeles, whatever. It's like you get used to like I need my people smart, I need people cultured and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go to like West Virginia. And they're just open people and they're ready to laugh. And it's like they're just as good as any smart, not that people aren't smart in West Virginia, but normally they're not. But, you go to.
Yeah, right.
West Virginia.
Mountain Mama. But
take me home. Figured I wanted
Country Road. And, and so it's like you just never know where the audience is going to be. I've had shows in Oklahoma City and places like that where they're just phenomenal and they're smart and they get stuff and they're not. Yeah. I think what I like too is when an audience, especially now, is like when they're not, uptight or they're not like sensitive or whatever. So it's nice to have that when an audience isn't going to get upset when you like go somewhere.
See, I think that changes though. The bigger you get, you're now attracting people who want to see you. They already know you, or they know Nate, and they're coming to see Nate, so they're going to be nice to the person most. Hopefully,
well, not really, not really. You have to earn it. Absolutely, they don't give a crap about you. They want to see you. Got to earn it. There's no niceness involved. Yeah, like you got to earn it. Yeah.
But I just because like I'm still doing last week in Florida. I said I had a show. I did a show at an Elks Lodge. And I thought about it. I'm like kind of starting to think about this joke I want to develop because it's like, up in the Northeast and especially in New England, we have a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner, sometimes 2. And down there on the west coast of Florida, every corner there's another church. And I do a lot about growing up Catholic, going to Catholic school. So I'm poking fun at my religion. They do not want to hear you poking fun at their religion at all. And it got. I mean, it wasn't a horrible show. The peripheral tables were laughing. The front table was It was a church group that had sponsored the show. They sponsored the fundraiser. They were actually laughing, especially when I said, "Look, folks, I know I'm going to hell for this shit. Don't worry about it." They laughed. The table behind them hated me to the point where I seriously thought about getting an escort because I know guns are very prevalent down there. But it's funny because
you never know. You never know with a crowd. It's like this. And religion is one of those things. Well, I thought it was interesting because it's like we're talking about. I just taped a dry bar special.
Yeah,
and that was very exciting to do. What was really funny about it was the last time. It's filmed in Provo, Utah. That's where they film them all.
Right.
And it was so funny. The last time I was in Provo, Utah, I was at the Missionary Training Center learning how to be a missionary for the Mormon Church. So the funny thing is like, that's where I was learning Spanish, learning how to, whatever. And then I come back as this like Mormon, I'm a comedian, So it's like it was just such a surreal experience to be back in the town, where I was learning how all this religious stuff, and then I come back as a comedian, and
right,
so
as an outsider.
yeah, it was like, but I'm still an insider, and that was
Yeah.
the thing. If the special, I had a good time kind of playing with the idea of religion, and it's like, and that's a sensitive crowd, especially when you start talking about Mormonism. But it was like I was able to kind of come in from like, hey man, I've been one of you, so it's not like I'm coming at it,
right?
So the thing is with religious material, you really have to put yourself on the block first. You gotta gotta kind of put it about yourself, because people will immediately want to get upset, especially if they are ultra religious. But I think there's a way to do it. You just have to find a way of kind of making fun of yourself more.
I did. Yeah, I mean, I did. I made myself look like an idiot, and a heathen.
But then you're in an Elks Lodge. You can't take it too serious. I mean, what is an Elks Lodge? What is that? Illuminati for people that shop at Costco? Like, what is an Elks Lodge?
Well, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, all right, these are the same people. Like in one sentence, they're like, we're not going to let the government tell us what to do. We got freedom of speech. This is a free country. This is America. And the same people on a Friday during Lent are like, oh no, I can't eat meat. The church tells me I can't eat meat on Fridays. It's like, where's the balance there?
Hilarious.
But no, listen, I know that you have a hard stop because you have your show coming up that you're doing live.
Good.
So
I
wanted to, we usually end by asking our guest about the funny bad gig story. And that's the gig that wasn't funny that night. Probably made you want to quit comedy, but afterwards, as you get further away from it, you start to see the funniness in it. And, weeks later, you're in the green room with a bunch of comics and everyone's telling war stories. And you're like, oh, you think that's bad? Here, hold my beer. I got one for you.
Yeah, I think I might have two. I don't know if I can squeeze two.
We've got plenty.
The first one is I was probably about 6 months into comedy, and it was somebody had booked me. I was kind of working with this guy. He was kind of teaching me comedy. So in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know who you're talking to. Everybody acts like they're legit. You have no idea. And so, about 6 months in, and he booked me on this gig, and it was a kind of like a clown meetup group. And they were like part-time clowns. And so
mixer.
it was like they were part of the Shrine Circus or something. And so they're literally all clowns. And so, that's what they did on the side gig or whatever. So I show up and half of them are like in makeup and with bozo wigs.
Clowns.
Yeah, they were real. I mean, some of them were like regular, but some of them were clowned up.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're a couple months into comedy, you don't see what's in front of you, how much gold is there. You're just fucking, oh my God, there's clowns in front of me. How am I going to be funny?
Right.
And so you try to so part of the mistake I made, instead of being like, what the fuck, there's all these clowns here, I was just like trying to go into regular material.
Oh, yeah. And ignore the elephant in the room.
I mean, I kind of made fun of it, but you just don't know what you're doing 3 months in.
Right.
So I'm just bombing, and then like they're trying to squirt me with water. And, all this stuff,
some guy starts juggling in the middle of it.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh,
like,
man,
that's awesome.
Want to shake my hand. They got a buzzer.
Buzzer.
They all left in one car,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it was
See,
like
this is all the shit you should have been saying that night, right?
Well, I say it on my special, so I got to talk about it.
Do you?
But
that's awesome.
But that's the thing, is you find a way to make it funny after.
Yeah.
Right.
But, and then I did this other gig. It was it was like this high end kind of. I think it was in the it might have been kind of where you guys are, and it was like this high end African American elite student event, and it was all these like top African American students from like MIT, Harvard, Yale, whatever, like all these high end school, Ivy League, whatever, and they were, most of them, were part of the African American, council thing, whatever. It's all this whole big whole thing. So the whole show was black comics. It was some guy named Sugar Bear. There was Artie Fuqua, this guy Harris Stanton, and Will Sylvans and stuff. And then they needed a white guy. So I was the token white guy. I was the token white guy. And at this time, I kind of had a regular cowboy hat, and I was kind of Johnny Cash shirt, that whole thing. And so I go up, and and I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm like making fun of the white guy thing, and I'm crushing it out. And then I used to do this joke. I said, I'm part Native American, and I said, it's like it's like the Indians got it the worst. The natives were killed, enslaved, their land was stolen from them, and then I was like, at least black people got to travel. And there's just a sea of booze. I mean, they're booing in the top, they're booing in the back, they're booing. The guy that's a security guard, he's booing.
He's booing.
Just booing.
The one guy that could have protected you.
Like it's not. I have to kind of embrace it a little bit. So
Right.
I'm like doing Elvis moves to the booze, They're
Oh
like,
my God.
And I'm like, and then like it was just horrible, right? And then it kind of comes down a little bit, and I try to do another joke, and I try to make fun, and then I try to go back into the Indian stuff, and nobody's.
Oh my
buying
God!
it.
Yeah, they're done with the Indian.
This horrible thing, and then the guy from the student paper comes up, and I'm like, well, and then I said, well, the thing is, the hypocrisy of it is nobody cares about the Indians, and this is a time nobody was taking us off a helmet, nobody was taking us off a logo, like it was just we're just cartoon characters. So that was the idea of the joke. Yeah. So anyway, it just bombed terribly, and then 3 weeks later, I did it on Showtime, White Boys in the Hood, and I got an applause break.
Really?
All black crowd.
How crazy is that?
They loved it, and they went crazy for it. So,
it's funny how it's all about perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
The black crowd loved it.
And the environment that you're in,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun, but yeah.
That's crazy.
Ace, I know we're coming to the end, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Dustin, I have a fun question I figured I would ask, which is just, if you were starting out today, what would be the number one advice you would give yourself?
Number one advice, let's see, get a credit card with points.
Yeah, good idea. That's a great one. Yep.
Hotel and airfare.
Although when we started, they didn't have points
They didn't?
on credit cards.
I
Yeah.
had points for a while, and I would definitely get that. But yeah, I would think about things like that. But mostly I would, I mean, I would write, on a schedule, like make it a point where it's part of your day, to like really discipline yourself to write and not be afraid to try new stuff on important shows and like big shows. Like, just don't be a puss about it. We get so like, oh, we got to do our A stuff, and be okay with taking some hits.
Right.
And a little more of that, be more prolific, because when you're a club comic in New York City, it's like, you feel like you're only as good as your last set. And if you don't, if you do want to get booked again, you got to crush every show, which you do need to crush. But I think, don't
you have to
retire
take
some of
risks.
that material. Yeah. Just like, retire some of it. So, but and don't be afraid to ask people for things.
Yeah.
I'm just now asking people for things later in my career.
Yeah.
And it's really working out. People like, it's out of sight, out of mind. People don't know that like you're out there. If you're like, hey man, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. You're funny, whatever. So it's like, don't be afraid to, just be that guy and ask and stuff, because, you're not always annoying. Some people want to work with you and help you. So just make sure you ask.
It's just they're not thinking about it. No, that's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great advice. So what can we promote for you? Your website?
You put my dry bar. If you go, if you put D Chafin in the promo code, you can get a month free of dry bar. It's on Apple TV and Roku and all that, and you get to see all the comedians and my special Cranky Pants. See that on there, and you can go to my website and Dustin's Vinyl on Twitch Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can check that out, and at Dustin _ Chafin on Instagram and all that jazz.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, thanks so much for making some time for us. I know how busy you are. It was literally like you jumped from one show to this show. Now you're about to do your show.
That's what we do, baby.
We really appreciate it. Anytime you want to come back on
and
chat, we'll definitely have you. And let me know when you're back up north in the Northeast. We'd love to get together.
I think I'm doing the Boston Festival thing. I think I'm doing
the Boston Comedy Festival in May?
I usually judge it and stuff. So
I
might be doing that. Yeah, and do some shows as well. So
let me know if you're up, because Scott and I were thinking of, because we haven't had Jim on in a couple of years, and we wanted to have him on again, so we'll come up.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right,
man.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much, Dustin.
Take care, guys. Appreciate you. All right, bye-bye.
See you.
See you, man.
I'm
Take care.
Take you out.
Thank you.
Boom. And that was Dustin Chafin. We were. I felt bad because he was. We started the show.
Right.
You were locked out. I'm texting you, trying to get you in without stopping the show, because I knew he only had until like 8:05 to be able to talk.
Yeah.
But no, it was great talking to him and catching up with him. And thanks for asking some of those questions, because they were good, especially like the advice. If you would give yourself advice.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people could could benefit from that? That's a really good question we should start asking our guests.
Absolutely, with someone with that much experience, it's
exactly.
so crucial to ask. And again, and I do apologize for showing up late.
It's not your fault, man. I locked you out.
No,
I just wanted to see how
I would have got here
many
earlier
times
if I
it would
didn't
take.
stop because I smashed into a
'cause of the
pothole.
pothole.
I was on par to get here for like 7:05.
Yeah.
And then that happened. I'm like, holy shit! Like, did I blow something? And then I pulled over. But
Blow.
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Blow someone?
But it was great to ask somebody like
Yeah.
that, just to get that sort of perspective. Because
And he's a great guy. You missed it in the beginning. I met him because Jim McHugh booked me, him, and Tony V up at City Winery in Boston.
That's killer.
Like 3 years ago. It was an awesome show.
Yeah.
It was a smaller crowd, but it was great.
Yeah.
And I just remembered, and then we became Facebook friends. I've been watching what he's been doing, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta ask him if he'll be on. And he was a great guest. So we hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for coming in and
great to be
being
here.
the co-host, Scott. In fact, I'll talk to you after the show because I might have another opportunity for you if you're around.
Sounds fun.
Scotty Boy is happy anniversary to Scott and Lisa. They are on their anniversary date night tonight, and then they fly out to Las Vegas tomorrow for a week. So we wish them well and safe travels. And next week for a guest, we've got Sean Carter. Sean was a Boston comic, came up in the Boston comedy scene. Not sure why he moved to West Virginia, but we'll find out why. And
there it is, showing up again.
Yeah, he moved to West Virginia and opened up Blue Ridge Comedy Club. And so
Sweet.
I've been wanting to talk to him for a while because I wanted to see what was it like moving from the Boston scene, this big established comedy scene, and then going down to West Virginia
And build a club.
and build a club there? Like, what made him do
I
it?
love everything about that, though.
Yeah.
I want to talk to him about that because I actually love, and I'll keep this brief, that like there's a lot of small places, other parts in this country that are like building up a nice like club scene.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I like the way Austin blew up and stuff
Right.
like that for comedy.
Exactly.
We should see more of that. I want more of that.
I think we're going to see that, especially because after COVID, people are so starved for entertainment and so ready to get out and have a good time. And what better way to do it than comedy? So
Absolutely.
So listen, folks, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate all the downloads. If you would like to help the podcast, there are multiple ways. The first one is to tell a friend about us. The second one, now you're counting out. Now you're fucking me up. The second one is to give us a 5-star written review. We really appreciate those. They help with algorithms, with helping more people find it. We also have our Patreon page. We also have Buy Me a Coffee, which we have fully admitted will not buy a coffee. It will buy us bourbon, but they don't call it Buy Me a Bourbon. So if you go to Buy Me a Coffee and type in Behind the Funny, you can find it. You can find our page there.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate everything. Another shout out to our friends on the Mixtape podcast. They actually hooked me up with a future guest that I don't want to announce yet because we haven't nailed down a date.
Ooh.
But they got me a really, really good guest coming in, hopefully within the next month or so. So go take a listen. If you're into the 80s and 90s, go listen to the Mixtape podcast. Those guys are hilarious. We can't wait to do another crossover show with them, especially now that we actually got some slide whistles so we can duet with Kevin, KC Masterpiece. But other than that, folks, we will talk to you next week.
Take care.